That's chapter 6. A Man Apart. His clothes were ragged and charred, but his skin had been untouched by the fireball that had enveloped him at Gordon's house. She glimpsed his face as she was dragged through the yellow light of the Bentley's headlamps, a face that was twisted in anger and hatred, and then she was lifted and slammed onto the bonnet of the car that had hit them. His hands had her collar bunched, his knuckles digging into her throat. "You will die," he hissed, "right here and now, if you don't give me that damned key." Her hands were on his, trying to break his grip. Her head felt light, blood pouring in her temples. "Please," she whispered, trying to breathe. "You're going to make me look bad," the man growled. "My master is going to think I'm a fool if I can't get one stupid key off one stupid girl." The street was empty around them. Shop fronts, businesses, closed for the night. No one was going to hear. No one was coming for her. Where was Skulduggery? The man lifted her off the bonnet and slammed her down again. Stephanie cried out in pain, and the man leaned in, his right forearm pressed beneath her chin. "I'll snap your scrawny neck," he hissed. "I don't know anything about a key," Stephanie gasped. "If you don't know anything, you're of no use to me, and I'll kill you here." She looked up at that horribly twisted face and stopped trying to pull his hands away. Instead, she dug her thumb into the bullet hole in his shoulder. He screamed and let her go and staggered back, cursing, and Stephanie rolled off the car and ran to the Bentley. Skulduggery was pounding at the door, but it had buckled under the impact, trapping his leg. "Go!" he shouted at her through the broken window. "Get away!" Stephanie glanced back, saw the figure loom up, pushed herself away from the car. She slipped on the wet road, but scrambled to her feet and ran, the man right behind her, clutching his injured shoulder. He lunged, and she ducked, caught a street light, and swung herself from her course. And the man shot by her and sprawled on the pavement. She took off the opposite way, passing the two cars and running on. The street was too long, too wide, and there was nowhere she could lose him. She turned off into a narrow lane and sprinted into the shadows. She heard him behind her, heard the footsteps that seemed to be moving much more quickly than her own. She didn't dare look back. She didn't want to fear, the fear that was lending her speed to suddenly sabotage her escape. It was too dark to make out anything ahead of her. She couldn't see one arm's length ahead. She could be about to run smack into a wall, and she wouldn't. Wall. Stephanie twisted at the last moment and got her hands up, and then hit the wall, pushed it away, kicking off without losing too much momentum, continuing round the corner. The man couldn't see in the dark any better than she could, and she heard him hit the wall and yell out a curse. Up ahead there was a break in the darkness. She saw a taxi pass. The man slipped and stumbled behind her. She was getting away. All she had to do was run up to the nearest person she could find, and the man wouldn't dare follow her. Stephanie plunged out of the shadows and screamed for help, but the taxi was gone and the street was empty. She screamed again, this time in desperation. The street lights tinged everything orange and stretched her shadow out before her. Then there was another shadow moving up behind, and she threw herself to one side as the man barreled past, narrowly missing her. The canal was ahead, the canal that flowed through the city. She ran for it, aware that the man was once again behind her and gaining fast. She felt his fingers on her shoulder. The first touch was fleeting, but the second was a grip. His hand curled around her shoulder and tightened as she reached the edge of the canal, and she managed to throw herself forward before he could drag her back. She heard a panicked shriek from behind and realized she'd pulled him in after her, and then the freezing water enveloped them both. The cold stunned her for a moment, but Stephanie fought it and kicked out. She clutched at water and dragged it down to her sides, just as she had countless times off the haggard beach. Now she was moving up to where the lights were. She broke the surface with a gasp and turned her head and saw the man struggling, flailing his arms in terror. For a moment, she thought he couldn't swim, but it was more than that. The water was hurting him, working through him like acid, stripping pieces of him away. His cries became more guttural, and Stephanie watched as he came apart and was silent and most dead. She turned from the bits of him that floated to her and ploughed through the water. Her hands and feet were already numb with the cold, but she kept going until the bridge was far behind. Shivering, Stephanie reached the edge of the canal and managed to haul herself out, arms crossed over her chest, trainers squelching with every step, and her hair plastered to her scalp. Apologies, I was looking at Nimbus and lost my place. Saw him moving out of the corner of my eye, wondered what he was doing. Edge of the canal, plastered to her scalp. She hurried back to the Bentley. When she got there, the Bentley was empty. Stephanie hung back out of the light. A truck passed, slowing when it was approached. When it was approached. When it approached the crash. When the driver didn't see anyone, he drove on. Stephanie didn't move from her spot. A few minutes later, Skulduggery emerged from the narrow lane she'd been chased down. He was walking quickly, looking up and down the street as he returned to his car. Stephanie stepped out of the shadows. "Hey," she said. "Stephanie!" Skulduggery exclaimed, rushing over to her. "You're all right." "I went for a swim," she said, trying to stop her teeth from chattering. "What happened?" he asked. "Where is he?" "Here and there." The light breeze was passing through her soaked garments. "The water kind of took him apart." Skulduggery nodded. "It happens." He held out his hand, and she felt herself drying, and saw the water drifting off her, collecting as a mist in the air over her head. "You're not surprised?" she asked. He moved the cloud away and released it. A faint shower fell onto the street. Certain types of adept magic don't come cheap, as we saw at Gordon's house. Your attacker has made himself impervious to fire, probably very proud of himself for doing it. Unfortunately for him, the cost of that little spell was a large amount of water would be lethal. Every big spell has a hidden snag. He clicked his fingers and conjured fire, and Stephanie started to feel warm again. "Neat trick," she said. "You have to teach me some time." With quite a bit of effort, Stephanie pulled open the car door. She wiped the broken glass from the seat and got in, buckling the seat belt. Skulduggery went around to the other side of his broken window and climbed in behind the wheel. He twisted the key and the engine turned, complained, and then came to life. Her body was tired, her mind was tired, her limbs felt heavy, and her eyes wanted to close. She dug her mobile phone out of her pocket. Miraculously, the canal water hadn't ruined it. She pressed the button, and the time flashed up, and she groaned, then looked outside as the first light of the morning started to seep into the sky. "What's wrong?" Skulduggery asked. "Are you hurt?" "No," she said, "but I will be if I don't get back to Gordon's house. My mum will be picking me up soon." "You don't look too happy." "I don't want to go back to that world, that boring old town with noisy neighbours and nasty aunts." "You'd rather stay in a world where you get attacked twice in one night?" "I know it sounds crazy, but yes, things happen here. I'm going to see a friend later today, someone who might be able to help us out. You can come along if you want." "Really?" "I think you might have a real feel for this line of work." Stephanie nodded and gave a little shrug. When she spoke, she fought hard to keep the sheer joy out of her voice. "And what about magic?" "What about it?" "Will you teach me?" "You don't even know if you're capable of doing magic." "How do I find out? Is there a test or something?" "Yes, we cut off your head. If it grows back, you can do magic." "You're being funny again, aren't you?" "So glad you noticed." "So will you teach me?" "I'm not a teacher. I'm a detective. I already have a career." "Oh, right. It's just, I'd really like to learn, you know, it all." Your flattery is subtle. Oh, that wasn't intonated right, was it? Oh, right, she said. It's just, I'd really like to learn, and you know it all. Your flattery is subtle. But it's okay. If you don't want to teach me, that's okay. I suppose I could always ask China. Skulduggery looked at her. China won't teach you. She won't teach you because there's nothing that she does that's not for her own gain. You mightn't see it at first. You might think she's actually being nice to you, but you can never trust her. Okay, then. Okay, so we're agreed? We're agreed. No trusting China. Good. Glad we got that sorted. So will you teach me magic? He sighed. Dealing with you is going to be a trial, isn't it? That's what my teachers at school say. This is going to be fun, Skulduggery said dryly. I just know it. Skulduggery dropped Stephanie off at Gordon's house, and half an hour later, her mother's car splashed through huge puddles, and Stephanie went outside to meet her. She managed to keep her mother's attention off the house, lest she noticed the front door was merely hanging on by the doorframe. Good morning, her mother said as Stephanie got in the car. Everything okay? Stephanie nodded. Yeah, everything's fine. You looking a little bedraggled? Oh, thanks, Mum. Her mother laughed as they drove back through the gate. Sorry, so tell me, how was your night? Stephanie hesitated, then shrugged. Uneventful. And that's the end of chapter 6. Thank you for listening.